Welcome into the Tuesday Blue Sky Live. I'm Neal McCready here on March the 10th. Jeffrey Wright, 92.9 ESPN in Memphis, going to join momentarily. If you're on the live stream, you see him right there as we speak, looking dapper in his quarters up. Got his beard going good. Got his headset. I'm very jealous of the beard. I try the beard. Carson and I had this conversation just the other day. I 3 days in and I'm clawing at it. I can't do it. We'll talk about Greg Sankey. He had some comments that were pretty interesting yesterday on SEC Network. He was on the Paul Feinbaum show. Said some interesting things. I'll get Jeffrey's thoughts. Talked to Chris Lee about this yesterday. It's on a Monday afternoon edition of Blue Sky Live. All blue skies all over Mississippi. If you're if you're leaving for spring break, coming back from spring break later this week, make sure you stop at a Blue Sky. Always convenient to fill up at the tank. And always convenient to fill up inside as well. Plate lunches, ribs, snacks, great beer selection, all of that and more at Blue Sky all over the state of Mississippi. I am in the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest up to you. Shop a quote around or do what I've done. And that's hop into a Clark Ford today. You will love the product. You will love the service. They'll take great care of you at Clark Ford. Jeffrey Wright joins on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi, providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit campbellclinicoxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111. Jeffrey, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
I'm good. A little scramble today. Heading to Nashville later. I'm in no hurry to get there, so I'm trying to kind of plan it around traffic and such. Full disclosure, I do want to get there in time to be settled in because there's an NBA game that I'm super interested in watching tonight. So I'm trying to kind of plan my schedule a little around that, and I'm also trying to get ready in case Ole Miss's basketball season ends tomorrow night, which I think is likely. The Rebels play Texas 6 p.m. in the first round of the SEC tournament, which begins tomorrow in Nashville. So trying to kind of get that done in my mind. I have sort of like an 8 p.m. tomorrow deadline, and it's too long right now. I need to cut into it. I need to maneuver some things, but season wrap-ups are always hard, especially when you're going to write another season wrap-up when you hopefully sit down with some of the people who were far more intimately involved in the season than you were.
Yeah, I mean, Grizzlies Sixers tips off at 6 because it's East Coast time. So you need to at least leave Oxford by what, 2?
Yes, that was not the game that has my
Yeah.
attention, but yeah, I'm very interested, and we'll talk NBA at the end. I'm very interested in Spurs Celtics tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we can save it for the NBA. I mean, I think we're in a weird spot with the NBA where I think we kind of know who the good teams are, but it feels like I always feel like when you get right to like conference tournament, NCAA tournament, maybe it's because like that just is more exciting, but it feels like the NBA really takes a back seat to it, almost in the sense of like they know they're out of sight, out of mind, and it's just kind of figuring out a way to get to the playoffs healthy.
Yeah. We'll save it for the NBA section, but there's some interesting things going on in the league. I thought there was a game last night that was fascinating for both teams in completely different ways. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's start with this. Let's start with Greg Sankey.
Okay.
He was on Paul Feinbaum yesterday. Typical kind of a Monday of tournament week. He'll sit down with Feinbaum and they do some state of the league kind of stuff, which is good. I give Paul credit. He's built quite the following, and Sankey is as you would expect, as the SEC commissioner is a regular on the SEC network. He said there is great frustration in my league that we've not been able to work collaboratively through some of the challenges or opportunities that we face. There's great frustration that as we go through the economic transition with our student athletes, we haven't better defined the boundaries and the guardrails and help people to those. And we have a responsibility in that. So I'm not casting blame. That's part of us solving problems. And I think properly, that's where our focus should be. How do we work with colleagues to solve problems? Can we do that collectively? If there's a point at which we cannot do so, I think that the conversation that informs the question that you asked, which was about breaking away, is there something you do alone? I think that starts to generate more and more interest. Sankey was asked if there was a tipping point. He said that's, quote, undefined. He said his preference is not to go our own way, quoting the Fleetwood Mac song from the 1970s. Sankey said that relationships with the rest of the sports are important, citing basketball's NCAA tournament and competition in general. He made it clear that that's not what separating would entail. Quote, I know in the Southeastern Conference we're prepared and we'll have some of the conversations about a framework that were in the context of national competition. But what are the right policies? Whether it's eligibility policies, whether it's transfer policies that need to work within the conference. He says we can't go on. This is the nut quote, the nut graph quote that I struggle with this. When people say this stuff, I'm like, what are you saying?
Okay.
This is Greg Sankey. This is the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference. Whether you love him or hate him or you're indifferent, this is one of the most powerful people in college athletics today.
And he wanted to talk, which is another important thing.
I completely agree. It's a great point that I was leaving out. You're right. We can't go on as we are. There's also a recognition that it's never going to be the way that it was, but it doesn't have to be the way that it is. That is a powerful quote. I have no idea what it freaking means, but it is a powerful quote that makes me go, wow. The commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, a league that is raking in money right now today, hand over fist. A league that right now today could issue invitations to a number of schools and they would come sprinting naked over broken glass to get to the SEC. We can't go on as we are. There's also a recognition that it's never going to be the way that it was, but it doesn't have to be the way that it is.
Okay, so my first instinct is let's start with the very first part of the quote. We can't go on the way that it is.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I don't know. This is the part, man, where you know this. You and I talked about this privately. You and me and Chase have talked about this before shows start, after shows are over. I've talked about this with other people. I don't know. So people ask me this all the time to the point that I just kind of look at people. Like someone will say, what do you do? And I'll tell them, and well, what do you think? And I don't know. This is the commissioner of the SEC, though, saying we can't go on as it is, which I interpret as this is broken. And yet, from the outside, I'm going to give Chase credit here. By the way, Chase out of town on vacation, spring break. I'm sure that we'll have some coverage tonight of Ole Miss and Southern Miss. They play in Hattiesburg this evening. It's Ole Miss's final non-con tune-up before beginning league play this weekend in Austin against the Texas Longhorns. He always says this, that maybe it's like the tree, that when you look at it from a distance, the tree looks beautiful and healthy. But if you were to go to the root and you were one of the people who know how to check the health of trees, you would check the soil and whatnot, look at the roots and go, oh, this tree's in trouble.
Neal, it's the Harvey Updike. I'll tell you what it did, Paul.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's my
in fairness, the day that he poisoned the tree, it looked fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's my buddy Silas Richmond with A1 Discount Tree and Lawn Service. He'd go look at a tree and say, oh, this tree's in trouble. Or you think a tree's in, like recently with our trees after the ice storm, We thought that tree's dead. That tree's dead. And he came and said, no, that tree's going to be fine. It's going to might take 2 years, but it's fine. So this is that maybe maybe I'm looking at the sport right up next to it thinking it looks fine, because I think it looks fine from my perspective. And I just covered 15 college football games. I covered one of the hottest stories in all of college football, and I covered a national quarterfinal game, a national semifinal game, and the sport looked really damn healthy to me. Now, I'm covering basketball where I am noticing something. If your team's not winning, and I know people have a tendency to push back on this, and you're missing the nuance when you do. Everybody just had senior day in the SEC. Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. There was one player who began his career at the same school that he finished his career. One.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't even think that. I honestly thought Matthew Morrell would be the last of a dying generation. I mean, I can't even believe there's one. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
listen, to your point, like
we did this with Morrell,
Memphis,
right? With Morrell, real quick. I mean, we had Devontae Shuler, and you had Breein Tyree, and before that there was Chris Warren. I mean, look, I've covered a lot of Ole Miss teams that didn't go to the tournament. I've covered some Ole Miss teams that weren't good, and I've covered some senior days that it was sparse. I've not seen anything like what I saw this past weekend. Like at South Carolina when they had their senior day on a Tuesday. Had it not been for Tennessee fans there was no one in the building. It's usually a pretty loyal fan.
Memphis had their senior day on Thursday night. There were players that their families didn't even bother coming. They were out of town. They'd been there for, on a certain level, yeah, that's kind of a sad thing, but like that's the reality of where we are.
So when he says can't go on as it is, what do you think?
I interpret that as the schools, the universities, however you want to say it, the institutions believe we can't keep going on as is. And in fairness to them, they're looking at it still in the structure of what we have, which is essentially one or two sports funding the entire operation so that everybody can play college sports. And if that's going to be the model where, yeah, you're going to share revenue with those that make revenue, but then you're still going to have to fund the rest of the sports, it seems obvious to me that cannot go on. Like there's just no way that you and I have talked about this before this was even a topic, like before this was even like, let's look at it. College athletics, for better or worse, was never designed to run like a business. It was designed to be an opportunity for students to play sports, get a free education, and then it slowly morphs into, well, let's get them room and board, and let's get them some spending cash because we're not allowing them to have summer jobs, and so it starts becoming something that it's not. And then you factor in how much money has been made in the last 20 years. Well, now all of a sudden this has become a billion-dollar industry, but you're still trying to organize it as if it's, football and basketball essentially paying for everything. But now you're having to share the revenue with your labor, and they've never had to do it. So the model itself, to me, when you say like that's broken, it's like, okay, I can understand that. The question then becomes is why is that still the model? Is it because of Title IX implications? Is it because if it's all the legal reasons? I want to be clear. I'm not saying Title IX should go away. Like I'm saying if they're going to have to continue down the path of paying for everything in the same way that they are, yes, I can see where it is broken, because essentially two things prop up everything else, and there's no business. Neal, you have been a small business owner now for 17 years, maybe more.
18 years. It'll be 18 years on Sunday.
I mean, I've been around. We cut shows that don't work. You know what I mean? Like if it's not making us money, like it's hey, we cut it. We move on.
Yeah.
There's just not a business that would continue to have 17 aspects of your business that lose money and 2 that make money.
Precisely. There was actually a really good thread on Rebels 24/7 this morning about this very topic. It was kind of about, it started out about Danny White and Tennessee and people there angry about Tony Vitello leaving and they're blaming it on Danny White and all. There were a lot of interesting points made in it. There was one involving Ole Miss yesterday about, there was a rumor that I actually don't believe to be true, that Florida was interested in Yolette McEwen to be Florida's coach, the current Ole Miss women's basketball coach. And my thought when I read that story was, I mean, I'm sure Ole Miss would hate to see her go, but they're not going to get in a bidding war.
No, and
in a world where she left, I think they'd go cheap. You know, I mean, like, I was in Northwest Arkansas over the weekend. They don't care about women's basketball, and they've punted it. They're last, and they don't care.
No, and I mean, let's take the Danny White Tennessee example, because Tennessee's an interesting case study, because Tennessee, it is a well-funded athletic department. It has always been a well-funded athletic department. It's always been one of the biggest. But they are now running into this issue of, just because you want to be good in everything and it matters to your fan base, is it feasible? Is it possible? Because when I look at Tennessee is, I look at them and they're pretty good in just about everything. I mean, you look at it in football, like they made the playoff last year, whatever, 2 seasons, the first 12-team playoff, they make the playoff.
Yeah.
Last year they go 8-4, they lose their quarterback before the year. All right. Back-to-back Elite Eights for their basketball team, and this year they look to be poised to make another second weekend. They've now run into this issue with women's basketball where they thought they had a new coach that they liked, and then this year's been a miserable year, and she has seemed to have worn out her welcome. And if you're Danny White, whether or not, it's always unclear to me whether or not Tony Vitello left because they were cutting his NIL budget or the San Francisco Giants offered him their managerial role. Like, but
like I said, I don't know how, if you're Tony Vitello, you can have the San Francisco Giants job on a platter in front of you and turn it down. I don't know how you say no to that. You can always, he's young enough where if that ends up being a miserable failure, he will have his pick of college jobs on the flip side.
I also believe it was 5 years, $25 million guaranteed. So
of course, I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a prestigious job. It's a chance to be a Major League Baseball manager. To me, that's
a fairly patient organization. Like, you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
like,
I mean, it's the San Francisco Giants.
And on top of that, if it, like you said, if it fails, he can come back and he'll be the hottest commodity in all of college baseball. So he'll be fine.
Yeah.
He also he doesn't have kids. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have the other concerns that he would have. But Tennessee might be running into this issue, and Tennessee has more money than, like, even say an Ole Miss. Can you be this master of none, but be good at everything?
Well, I mean, you and I talked about this yesterday. It's one of the reasons that when Josh Heupel said this the other day, the Tennessee football coach, about a 2014 playoff, and I don't remember his exact words, I'm paraphrasing. A 2014 playoff was basically the way to go. A lot of people pushed back, and I thought, you know what? From a business standpoint, he's right. Like, you need the regular season financially. I'm talking about money right now, okay? I'm not talking about anything else. I'm talking about money. You need the regular season to mean something. You always do. The longer your team is in contention for one of the 24 spots, the longer the fan base is engaged. In this new era with this mass transfer thing, and I think this applies everywhere. It was the point that I was kind of getting at a minute ago before I sidetracked myself. Fans don't know the players anymore. not many of them. You don't know the players, and therefore, now if your team's winning, you're engaged because everybody loves winning in anything. But when your team doesn't win, and I think all of these SEC schools look in the mirror and go, a bad season is not an if, but a win. We're going to have a bad season. There's going to be a year where you lose your starting quarterback in week 2. You just have a run of injuries. You have a run of bad luck. And you look up at the end of September and you're kind of out of it. That's kind of coming for everyone at some point. And they all look at each other and go, that's the part you worry about. You worry about the senior day in football where there's 18,000 people in the stadium. You worry about when those fans go, man, I don't know these people. This team's not winning. Screw it. They get angry because we poured X dollars into. I mean, I hear that with Ole Miss a lot, with basketball fans, a lot. It's not just that they're mad that the team are upset that the team isn't good. They're mad. And look, I get it. I understand this. They're mad that that $9 to $11 million that in their eyes could have been spent on other things got poured into this product, this 4-14 going nowhere. And there's and to me, that's the new part. You always had the disappointment when your team wasn't good. Now the disappointment is mixed with anger. We spent what? Like nobody gives a damn about frankly, a women's basketball team that goes bad when they go, well, we didn't put the money into it. Whatever, who cares? Okay, cool. Yeah. Right? I mean, we went to Jack in the Box. I didn't expect a steak dinner. I think that's the anger of, no, we poured the money into this. We expected a steak dinner, and you gave us Jack in the Box.
Yeah, I guess, though, what I would say is I understand that, and I'm not even pushing back on that. I would go back, though, to the original point that you made, which is the schools will never say it out loud, but they know that it's coming for them because inherent in fan belief is when you're winning, it's because you're doing it better. You know what I mean? Like it's whether it be we have our NIL in place, we have our coaching staff's better. We are better at identifying the right mix of guys. Maybe we take transfers, but they don't bust at the same level that everybody else does. Like you want to believe that you're winning because of the process or how you go about it. Whereas obviously that is important. I don't think you can be I think what's clear now is you can't just throw money at it and win. I do think money has become the barrier of entry. If you're not throwing money at it, you probably can't win. Like not to the level in SEC football. Like I don't think you can moneyball your way into relevancy and playing for it.
There was a story yesterday where and I think it was The Athletic granted anonymity to GMs. I think they sort of built it around the Ole Miss Clemson Dabo Sweeney thing about tampering and all that stuff. It was well done. They granted anonymity to people, which is, I've done it. It leads to the absolute best journalism. It also leads to the most pushback because people go, well, I mean, how do I know you're not just making this up? I'm going to assume that the editors involved knew who the people were and that this wasn't made up. $40 million, $35 to $40 million to build a championship caliber roster in the SEC. They said Texas.
Yeah, I now know what you're talking about. It's the Texas Athletics. It was the Athletics college football newsletter, and maybe they were excerpting. You're right. It was like what it cost at the tier level. It's like as a G6, as a Big 12 ACC team, as a yes. Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure every year to produce that amount of money in NIL, to figure out a way to justify it. If the clearinghouse pushes back, you've got this weird clearinghouse deal right now where they're, as you might expect, they're completely backed up. They have no way to do this. There's no way to establish market value in a way that would hold up legally. And so schools are like, screw it, man. We're just going to do the money the way we've been doing the money. And then you're nervous about doing that because what if they come audit you and say, okay, so this kid got this kid got $2 million. What did he do? What NIL?
Appearance fees.
What NIL did he do? And they're like, well, I mean, he was in our marketing campaign. I mean,
he spoke at our whatever. He spoke at the meet and greets, and I mean, it's appearance. They've been doing. They try to label it as appearance fees.
Yeah, the answer, pardon my French, is he didn't do anything. He didn't do shit.
He played football.
He played football.
He played basketball.
And he played well. Yeah, and so we gave him a lot of money. But raising that money year over year, especially when you have a down year. You have a down year and people go, I don't know, this is stupid. This is hard. Man, what am I giving this money for? I mean, and you need corporations. And now they have figured out, as you and I expected that they would, that, hey, we got to get something tangible out of this for ROI purposes. The economy,
especially for publicly traded companies.
Yeah. The economy takes a little bit of a downturn. Our stock drops a little bit. Our stockholders start asking questions like, wait, we're given to what?
Well, and then, I mean, you also have to worry about some imaging. It's like, okay, a lot of companies are having to go through layoffs, but hey, we spent $10 million so that the Dogs could get a couple of linebackers and maybe a big. Well, they had to lay off 200 employees. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they start getting questions that, and yes, every company has a marketing budget. I understand that they have an advertising budget, but it's like they also understand it is not a good look.
So I was just interested in it.
Well, I mean, to get back to it,
yeah,
I think that's kind of the larger question, though, is their definition of it's broken, or however he said it, we can't go on like this. I can't remember.
He said we're never going to go back to the way that it was, but it doesn't mean that we have to do it the way that it is. He twice he bracketed a sentence with clearly, subtly saying, hey, I know what President Trump said about an executive order, but we're not going back to that. There's no way the toothpaste isn't going back into the tube. But he bracketed that statement with, we can't keep going the way that we are, and it doesn't have to be the way that it is, which is I only interpret that as the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, who is, again, whether you love him or hate him, is in constant contact with presidents, athletic directors, and coaches, saying it's broken.
Right. So the question is, for me, is that a good faith argument?
I don't know.
Or is that a self-serving argument?
I don't know. And I don't know whether that's beginning the process of, because he didn't say, no, Paul, hell no, Paul, we're not going to ever break away. Hell no, Paul, we're not ever going to do our own thing. That's crazy. He said, that's not what I want to do. But he admitted, hey, we've had these conversations. And look, I've said this for a long time. This was my prediction years ago. If I end up getting it right, I'm not even going to get credit, because I don't even want the credit, because the roundabout way that it happened, I don't even know that it would count. But I said a long time ago, I thought, man, you got to be, if you're one of these other schools out there, you got to be really concerned that one day the SEC and the Big Ten have a meeting and go, we hate each other, but this works. And let's just form our own NFL/NBA. We'll figure out the other sports however we have to do it, but we're breaking this thing away. We're going to privatize. We're going to force the players to unionize, and we'll come to the table and have a collective bargaining agreement with a set of rules that everyone agrees to, and we'll figure out a way to enforce those rules.
I'll do you one more. And I thought we were close. No, that's not a fair way to say it. I thought we were closer than ever. I think we've always made this assumption that it's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten breaking away. what if the Big Ten went along with the whole Michigan, USC are not taking private equity money. The rest of the league is. And then what if Michigan picks up the phone, says USC, all right, hey, you're with us, right? Okay. All right, get me Alabama on the phone. Get me Georgia on the phone. What if they break away outside of the conference structure and that's how the whole Super League thing starts? Because if you look back to, it ended up not working over in Europe because of institutionally the way these soccer teams are and they're older. But if you look at the biggest pushback against the whole Super League thing,
Yep.
it wasn't that the EPL called up the Bundesliga and then called up, uh, Serie A and called up Ligue 1. It was like Manchester United calling up Liverpool, calling up Man City, calling up Real Madrid, calling up Barcelona and be like, hey, guys, if we just play our own thing, it's going to make us a lot more money.
And it would have.
Correct.
And I mean,
Now,
there was fan revolt.
right, but here's what's scary to me about where we are. The Athletic, I think it was right before the end of the calendar year when the European journalists were going nuts about the FIFA ticket prices, which are, to be clear, this is a cash grab for FIFA. They can spin it however they want. It is a cash grab. But the reason why I was more interested in the story was they compared these moments in Europe to here, specifically the Super League revolt. There have been multiple times where there have been protests in the middle of games because a ticket price was raised like $15. Not like double, like $15. And there were executives that had been on both sides where they managed European teams, they managed American teams. And basically they're like, we don't really have to worry about raising ticket prices here because they just kind of take it. Like, and whether or not it's these institutions are younger or whatnot, what is alarming to me is like, look at how much even NBA ticket prices have raised in the last 5 years, and the product's not great regular season. I would argue the product postseason is probably as good as it has been, especially in terms of competitiveness, parity, like the number of teams that can win. It's at a very healthy level. But in terms of like paying for season tickets, why would you do that? Like you don't know who's going to play night in, night out. Like you don't like that's not really a great investment.
No,
But what was scary to me is
unless you're a really diehard fan of a franchise, and you like and that's a very small percentage of fans because they don't have the time to be diehard, really.
like, and there are plenty of people that view it like as a civic duty, like especially like in cities like Memphis, Oklahoma City, where there's only one team. Like, hey, this is our way, and Oklahoma City's done a great job maintaining it. But like once upon a time, that was a thing in Memphis. Like it was your civic duty to buy your tickets, show up at the games. Like that was a point of pride. And there are still plenty of people that do that. And I'm not saying that that's ever going to get away. But what was alarming to me is a lot of the way that American sports have been presented. There is kind of a condition of you sit there and take it. Like, hey, the owner doesn't want to pay for his own stadium, so he's going to hold up the local government for as much money as possible so he doesn't have to pay for it. And everyone just kind of sits around and takes it.
Yeah, it's one of these conversations that you feel like you could have for hours and hours and hours and still not really sure that you get anywhere. I'll as we move to the NFL in a second, I'll just say this. I was struck, and maybe you articulated it in a way that I didn't fully think about it.
Probably not.
Greg Sankey didn't have a gun to his head yesterday to go talk to Paul Feinbaum and say those things on what is national television, knowing that it was going to be aggregated by every college reporter in the country.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't have to say those things. He could have easily danced around it a little bit. And
he didn't have to talk. Look at Tony Petitti. When's the last time that guy spoke publicly?
Just doesn't do it. And so I thought it was interesting. I mean, he was at that deal with, the whole White House thing. I didn't take it seriously because there was no players at the table.
Yep.
You're never going to get this isn't going anywhere without the players. The players have full control right now, and the schools don't have the discipline to enforce their own rules.
I didn't take it seriously because I guess everybody, like, maybe this is like the ultimate short-term memory. Did everyone forget he did the same thing last year almost at the exact same time? Like, it was like in conjunction with he was going to fix golf, and that was going to be like right before the Players' Championship. Nothing really ever came from that. And then we did the whole, it was I don't know if maybe it was the number of people, but there was the whole inviting the college sports leaders to come and talk about this. We even got like an executive order out of all this. And so I kept thinking, why is this any different? I think the other thing, though, that as we talk through it, I do think this might be true. If they can figure out a way to break football away and still keep the other championships, I think they would do that. I think the problem that you have right now is if you do the breakaway, what do you do about the NCAA tournament? And for all the jokes we can make about this is March, it's the best tournament in sports. Like,
and is their moneymaker, and it makes
correct.
a ton of money.
Correct. And I would also
The
say
women's tournament makes a lot of money.
I would argue this. Whatever your criticism of the NCAA is, it's probably fair. It's probably founded. I would also say, in my own experience, and this is not just covering the basketball tournament, this is covering soccer tournament, the softball tournament, like a lot of different variations. They are phenomenal at running a championship. At putting on a championship, I think that they are. It's always first class in terms of organized, your access to players, whatever you need. Like, they do a phenomenal job of running a championship. But I think that you're going to really struggle to figure out, okay, how can we do whatever we need to do with football and still play in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, you're right about the running a championship. They did a great job with the football thing. I got to experience that this year with the playoff. 3 games, one in Oxford, one in Atlanta. Not Atlanta. One in New Orleans and one in Phoenix. Amazing. I'll say this. It will hit me at some point, probably Thursday or Friday when the season ends. I've covered Ole Miss now for 18 years. They haven't been to many NCAA tournaments. And I'm going to get this little sinking thing that, man, I miss covering the tournament. Because when I was in Mobile, especially when I was in those years where I was covering the league as a whole, I went to the SEC tournament, covered it, from start to finish. Loved it. One of my favorite things. And then I would always get sent somewhere for the first and second rounds. Usually got sent to the Sweet 16 if Auburn or Alabama or LSU or somebody made it. And it was fun. I loved it. Like last year, the 6 days in Milwaukee, I had a blast. I did. I had so much fun. I was by myself. I was working a lot, but I loved the tournament. I love the setting of the tournament. I love the way they do it. You get great seats. You get to really cover it. You get access. It's from a journalism standpoint, it might be my favorite thing. And I know that I'm not covering it this year. And it hasn't hit in yet, but it will at some point late this week, early next week. Almost a little sadness.
I totally,
because we'll
in 2017.
I'll cover spring football starts on the 23rd, and I guess that'll be good. But it's spring football, man. You're writing about a season that is half a year away, as opposed to the life and death of the NCAA tournament.
No, 2017, I covered the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, and the Final Four, which was the next week, was actually a great Final Four. That's the North Carolina Villanova one. Like, I had like a withdrawal for like a week just because, like, it was just such an unbelievable thing to cover. I don't know. I guess the other thing that I keep coming back to when we think about the big picture thing, which is I do wonder how. Here's where I think they could be making a good faith argument. we all can agree when the sport makes as much money in football in particular as it does, paying them $0 is insane.
Yes.
Un-American. It's like we can get to all this. I think the bigger problem is that when you start listing all the things that they have to fix, I think you realize probably not doable. Like it's just it's not going to be solvable. So it leads me to the conclusion, and I'm not alone in this. They are eventually going to have to get to a situation where each sport probably breaks off and either becomes a revenue sport in which they share revenue, or it becomes some type of scholarship sport where, yeah, you're not going to make the money, but you're going to be room and board, everything. And those things are going to have to be collectively bargained. The problem is, I think some people recognize this, and I think some people would like to say, let's get there sooner rather than later, but not everyone's going to get there. And so it feels like we're just going to kind of be stuck in this malaise for, I don't know, a decade until either like there's a breaking point or it collapses. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll finish with this. It's the reason that I don't think Congress is going to fix this. I've said this consistently. The schools don't want to make the players employees. The players don't really want to be employees. The Democrats in Congress cannot look, and this isn't a Republican Democrat thing. The Democrats in Congress, like, why not make them employees? Give them benefits, the whole deal, protect them. They're pro-labor, and the schools go, man, you have no idea what a headache that is. Like this is a nightmare. Getting into all the make them employees, which makes them state employees, and it's there's a fundamental fracture there that nobody has even come close to bridging. And it's why you guys keep going to Congress. And I look at them like, what are you doing? Congress is not going to fix this for you. The White House, I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat or anything else in the White House, he or she is not going to fix this for you. You are going to have to figure out a way to fix this yourself. And they're nowhere close to it. But I guess full circle, that was the interesting part about the commissioner of the SEC flat out saying this is broken. Because normally the commissioner of the SEC spends these big public appearances telling you how good everything is.
And again, I guess the question is, if he clearly wanted to talk, he clearly had something to say. Yeah, there's a bit of word salad and elements in it, but that's always how he talks. Who's the target? Like, who is his audience? Was it his own presidents? Was it the presidents of the Big Ten? Was it the presidents of the ACC, the Big 12?
That's who I think. I think it was everybody else. I think his own audience has everything I hear about him is he is really good about communicating with his constituents. I've heard that consistently. That was intended for outsiders.
So I guess then I would say is my suspicion is the target is the Big Ten, because it appears that the SEC clearly wants to go to 16. I don't think that's any secret. I know you've talked about that. And the Big Ten has basically been like, we'll only go to 16 temporarily if you go to 24.
Yep.
And that seems to be a bridge too far.
I think the SEC is willing to go to 24. They want 16 with guarantees. If they go to 24, they want an even bigger guarantee. I think there's real concern around the league about this 9-game schedule, and teams are going to get punished, and that it's the committee is not going to give the benefit of the doubt the way that they say they're going to give the benefit of the doubt. And there is absolutely no sample size right now to know one way or the other what they'll do, because we've never seen a 12-game playoff with a 9-game SEC schedule. 12-team playoff, 9-game SEC. There is, when people go, well, this is what's going to happen. You don't know. You're guessing. There is no sample size. Nothing. And that uncertainty, man, people that work in these kinds of positions, they don't like uncertainty. They want certainty. And there is none. Because when someone says, well, in the past, nope. SEC's never had a 9-game schedule.
Well, it's not apples to apples, but it's kind of like when a state goes from being a dictator or a monarchy, and then all of a sudden it's democratic. It's like, listen, you can say what you want about dictatorships and authoritarian rule. You are allowed to plan. Like that's the one thing is that you can do is you control everything, so you plan it. They are kind of transitioning from we've been used to planning everything and having everything the way that we like it, nice and orderly, and now it's not that.
Jeffrey, did you know that Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and more than 2 million happy customers? They have all the plants. I know. They have all the plants your yard or home needs, including fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, houseplants, all grown with care and guaranteed to arrive healthy. It's like your local nursery, but anywhere you live with more plants than you'll find anywhere else. Whatever you're looking for, Fast Growing Trees helps you find options that actually work for your climate, space, and lifestyle. Fast Growing Trees make it easy to get your dream yard. Just click, order, grow, and get healthy, thriving plants delivered to your door. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee promises that your plants arrive happy and healthy, no green thumb required, just quality plants you can count on, plus get ongoing support from trained plant experts who can help you plan your landscape, choose the right plants, and learn how to care for them every step of the way. It can be overwhelming and inconvenient to shop for plants in person. Landscaping can be expensive, and Fast Growing Trees helps you save. Plus, it's always reassuring. It is to order plants knowing they're guaranteed and supported by experts. Spring is here, and now's the best time to plant. Fast Growing Trees can help anyone get their home and yard ready with spring planting essentials and trees and plants guaranteed to thrive. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants, and listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code MPW at checkout. That's an additional 20% off better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code MPW at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code MPW. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use MPW to save today. Offers valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. How do you handle stress, pressure, burnout, and staying sharp when things pile up? I've used therapy during difficult, stressful times in my life. It helped provide calm and clarity, both personally and professionally. Therapy can help develop healthy coping skills, set boundaries, and support personal growth. Therapy isn't just for those facing major challenges. It's a valuable tool for anyone looking to improve their well-being. Therapy can help create balance, set healthy boundaries, and support overall well-being for everyone. Can be challenging to make time for therapy, but BetterHelp makes scheduling and attending your weekly sessions easy because it's all online. You can do phone, video, or message chat according to your schedule. And with more than 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served more than 6 million people globally, and it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on more than 1.7 million client reviews. If your therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch anytime, easily, and at no extra cost. So prioritize your well-being with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/MPW to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/MPW. Ole Miss had a great football portal season. You can too. Do you have an old IRA or 401k with a former employer? Or is that money stuck with the bad team, not living up to its full potential? Put that account in the transfer portal. Let a fellow Rebel professionally manage it for you. Andrew Sego Wealth Management will build a playoff caliber portfolio just for you. Book a quick discovery call today at rebelsretire.com or 901-482-2676. Maybe you need tax saving strategies or retirement income planning. That's what they do every day. So give them a call at 901-482-2676 or book a discovery call online at rebelsretire.com. I'll have a mailbag to you tomorrow, Wednesday. That's brought to you by Art Hayes, Sotheby's International Realty. Are you thinking of making a move? Put the power of Sotheby's to work for you as a licensed agent with Sotheby's and a supporter of all things Ole Miss. Art can help you buy or sell in your hometown or anywhere in the world at no charge to you. Seriously, so call and ask Art how. 612-805-5929 or email art@arthur.hayes@lakesmn.com. And we're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, same great products and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer 662-801-1777. If you live in Memphis, South Haven, Hernando, those areas, call Southern 662-429-4429. Jeffrey, the NFL full free agency going right now. Kenneth Walker made a move yesterday. Mike Evans, Malik Willis. Travis Kelce announced he's coming back, staying with the Chiefs. Anything sticking?
Boy, Laramie got played again.
Man, Laramie has made he's made all the money that I thought he would make when I watched his very first Ole Miss practice. Panthers agreed to a deal with Devin Lloyd. Saints had a lot of moves yesterday. Anything stick out to you?
The Malik Willis one is interesting. I get why the Dolphins are doing it. If you're the Dolphins and you know that you're gonna have to do this full teardown, rebuild, reset, and basically it was a fire sale yesterday. Why not take a shot on a guy like Malik Willis that was very toolsy coming in, didn't really work in Tennessee, but then he gets to the Packers and they put him in a good position. See if maybe this could be a guy like that was a developmental guy and you reap the benefits of. And then if it doesn't work, you're probably going to be bad anyway. So you're going to be back in the next quarterback draft. So I thought that was interesting. Mike Evans going to San Francisco, and then you see a lot of Bucs guys that were kind of leaving. I'm worried about my boy Baker. I don't think next year's going to be all that good. And then they hired Zach Robinson as their offensive coordinator. I wasn't super thrilled about that. I guess good for Alec Pierce. I don't know if when I watched Cincinnati played that long ago, or whatever that was, and they were their playoff team, that I thought that guy's going to be like a $120 million receiver. Good for him. It was a lot of. It almost felt like NBA free agency day, and I don't really remember the NFL kind of doing it like this, but I don't know how you felt. It felt like it was impossible to keep up with because it started for me 11 a.m., which is about an hour before I went on the air, and so I'm sitting there prepping for the show, and I'm trying to keep a tracker and everything, and
yep.
I don't really know if I could say anyone won free agency. I was happy for Kenneth Walker to get paid. That he's from Arlington, and I root for him. I think the thing that was interesting was, did Kenneth Walker and then the Saints getting Etienne, did that signal, there's been a lot of conversation about Jeremiah Love to the Saints and Jeremiah Love to the Chiefs. Did that maybe signal, hey, they recognize we've got more than running back that we're going to address in the draft? And was that some type of signal on Jeremiah Love, or maybe was it a signal hey, we think Jeremiah Love after that combine, he's not going to make it to 8 or 9, so we got to go get a running back. There was kind of that thought in my head.
I know there's a lot of Saints fans in our audience. NFC South, Jalen Phillips, Devin Lloyd both go to the Panthers.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant additions to their defense. The Saints had
a pretty sneaky good defense last year.
Yeah. On paper, better today.
Yeah.
Travis Etienne, as you mentioned, 4 years, $52 million. Leaving the Jaguars, going to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints did a lot of offensive line stuff the last couple of days. David Edwards, the guard from the Buffalo Bills, gets a 4-year, $61 million deal. The Saints you kind of that's embracing a rebuild. They just seem to be no, we're gonna keep. I wonder if this is, hey, we're better at quarterback than we thought we were going to be. We've got one on a rookie scale deal. Let's go.
Well, what I think it is they saw enough from their quarterback to go, let's give it a go. And let's build around him and see what we've got. And you have the perfect opportunity when he's still cheap. Now, even though he's a second rounder, you have less control. But like to me, like this is a test to see like is Tyler Shuck what he appeared to be as a rookie, which was very promising.
Yeah, it's what I thought. I thought if I were a Saints fan, I looked at the last couple of days and went, oh, they think they're closer to contention than anyone else does.
And maybe that's a byproduct of being in the NFC South where no one's really that much better than, you know what I mean? Like we see
Yeah. I mean,
the Panthers.
Tampa's falling off. The Panthers are good, but you still question whether they truly have the quarterback play to win in the playoffs. The Falcons don't appear to be all that close. It's there for the taking.
And I mean, honestly, I thought Kellen Moore did a pretty good job last year because, like, I didn't think that team was all that talented. But when you watch them week in, week out, with like the exception of like the Seahawks game and a game here and there, they were really feisty. Like, they were. That was not like a guaranteed win like I think you would have thought coming into the season.
What do you make of the Seahawks losing so many people off the Super Bowl championship team? Kobe Bryant, the safety, pretty solid safety, gets a 3-year, $40 million deal with the Bears. We already mentioned Kenneth Walker. The Bengals get from the Chiefs. They get Brian Cook, a safety who's a much better tackler. I mean, there's just there's always movement, but I always think it's interesting when you see a Super Bowl championship team and then a bunch of guys jump.
I think it also speaks to when you're a Super Bowl team and you're a free agent, that's a good year to be a free agent because yeah, I heard Sean Payton say this one time. I think it was last year actually at the Super Bowl or whatever, the Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. He's like, who are you rooting for? He's like, I'm rooting for the Chiefs. And it's like, not because Andy Reid's my friend, but if the Chiefs win, they have to pay everybody more. And so I think what you saw with Seattle was there were certain guys that they were going to pay to keep, and then there were certain guys that they were going to say, all right, too rich for our blood. And I think that kind of speaks to Sean Payton's example of, when guys win a Super Bowl, their stock's really high and they're viewed as assets and they're going to be expensive.
The top name still available, Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals, still available. The Athletic has him as the number 1 free agent available. They have Daniel Jones, most recently with the Colts, as the number 4 available free agent. He did have a very good year before his injury last season. Where do you see Jones landing?
I think he's going to be back with the Colts. So they transition tagged him, which is something they don't ever really use, and they really don't use it on quarterbacks. But essentially what that is that allows him to go and negotiate with other teams, and they get the first right of refusal. And then also locked Daniel in at, like, Daniel, I think, got locked in at like 31 and a half or something like that. So it's like worst case scenario, Daniel knows that he's making that. And then really basically what the Colts were saying is like, go see what you can get and we'll make a determination from there. But I followed Daniel's career enough and I feel like I'm familiar enough with him. I think he values being in a good spot. And I think he knows the Colts are a good spot. If you made me predict, I think he's the Colts quarterback next year.
Last thing on the NFL, were you at all surprised about the Dolphins letting go Tua Tagovailoa and him ending up on a 1-year deal in Atlanta? Do you read anything into that at all?
No, the Dolphins had decided they were moving on. So the only question was whether or not they were going to eat it all at once or they were going to divide it up over 2 years. They chose to eat it all at once. I mean, I think you have to at least somewhat consider the Falcons doing this. Do you bring in Tua if you're 100% certain on Michael Penix Jr.? And I know Penix is coming off of an injury, and so you could have that aspect, but I didn't read too much in it. It was a 1-year deal. It felt like if you're Tua and you're like, hey, there's enough talent around there. If I get called in to to play, maybe that could be like a spark, but not really. Tua's bet the biggest news yesterday was that he's going to get $99 million from the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Tua, there's a part of me that, man, just I walk. But it's just so easy to say. I walk away with my health.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. I've always gone.
people love
I've gone
playing the game,
back and
man.
I've gone back and forth on that because it was so funny. About a week or so ago, Verlander was on PTI with the 5 Good Minutes, and they basically were asking him like, what keeps driving you, and he's like, well, I still think I can do this, but really, he was like, every single you know veteran that I've ever spoken to, guys that were older than me, guys that I looked up to, they all told me the same thing. It's like, keep playing until literally they tell you can't play anymore. And I understand football is different than baseball. You're not getting hit every play, and I got that, but it's like there are some people that are just wired like, I don't know, like I'm gonna make them tell me I can't play anymore.
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand that. I mean, I had a conversation with someone the other day that's playing a sport kind of at a much lower level, and he was like, I'm probably wasting my time, and I was like, nah, man. I mean, as long as you love playing and you get the opportunity to play, you should play. You want to play, because there will come a time when, I mean, Father Time will tell you, nope, you can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I think my advice on that one is, when you ever reach the point of doing the work that it takes to be successful, when you don't want to do that, to me, like, that's the indicator. But if you're still loving the putting in the work, putting in the hours and whatnot, then who am I to tell you to stop doing it?
Yeah, like, as far as I know, you live once. Do your thing.
Best of my knowledge.
I mean, it's all I've heard. Hey, we're presented by ENT Physicians of North Mississippi. It's the largest private ENT practice in the state. Their goal is simple: delivering fast, expert, comprehensive care for patients of all ages with ENT, allergy, sinus, dizziness, balance, and voice-related needs. You can learn more about them. They got locations in New Albany, Starkville, Tupelo, Corinth. ENTNorthMississippi.com, or call 662-844-6513. If you have jewelry needs, anniversaries, you got graduation's right around the corner. Hell, it's already practically the middle of March. Go to Arnett's, fourth generation jeweler located in the old Lamons building, North Lamar Avenue in Oxford. They offer everything you're looking for. They want to be your jeweler. We're brought to you by the College Corner. Get all of the name brands you know and love, all the best Rebel gear, Nike, Horn Legend, Champion, Antigua, all the colors you're looking for. Still cool out. Quarter zip, need a hoodie, T-shirts, polos. As spring gets here, they'll take care of you at College Corner. It's collegecornerstore.com. Since its inception in 1873, Coors Banquet's been brewed in the same tradition of the original 150-year-old recipe. Banquet's crafted with 100% Rocky Mountain water, so when you're enjoying a banquet, you are drinking history. When you work with Argent Welt's 401k advisory services, you gain a valuable advisory team and time-saving resource that will help you develop and maintain a solid strategy for your retirement plan. They're committed to providing you with the personalized attention and involvement that you want and need. Their goal is to help you manage your 401k plan properly and ultimately improve your employees' retirement readiness. It's myargentwealth.com. Jeffrey's in Memphis. So is John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated. But whether you live in Memphis or not, you can use John. He's going to help you because he has a worldwide network of travel partners that allow him to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits simply not available to other travelers. He knows how to make a special trip one that creates a lifetime of unique memories. Get in touch with him. Give him a budget. Give him some parameters. He'll give you options you won't find on your own. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. And finally, get the beautiful, healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile with conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. Schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself. It's corinthdental.com. All right, here's the NBA talk to finish things up. So those of you who hate the NBA, you're not going to miss anything. I don't think we'll circle back. Here's your warning. Some people get triggered by NBA. Some people love it. I actually get people that say, hey, I wish you guys would talk more NBA. It was a significant night in the NBA last night, I thought. Jeffrey, it was the Denver Nuggets at full strength in Oklahoma City to play a Thunder team that was without Chet Holmgren, without Jalen Williams, the Santa Clara Jalen Williams. Isaiah Hartenstein didn't play. Alex Caruso didn't play. Felt like a night. Denver still sort of seething about the Lou Dort flagrant 2 from a couple weeks ago. Felt like a night that if you're Denver, you had to walk out of that arena with a win. They had a 13-point early lead. I thought, yeah, Thunder don't have enough tonight. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did his thing. He tied Wilt Chamberlain's record most games in a row with 20 or more points. And then he just hit daggers. I thought, there's a lot of talk about the MVP conversation. That's whatever. To me, that was a game. Denver now the 6th seed in the West. It's pretty bumped, pretty close, 3 to 6, 7. That felt like a big moment for Denver where, frankly, you walk out of the arena, you get on your plane, and you go, are we good enough?
I think I've had that conversation, though, about a lot of teams. Like, I'm in this weird spot with the NBA's. All right, let's take the West. We know Oklahoma City's good enough. We're in this weird spot with San Antonio where you think roster-wise they're definitely good enough, but has there really ever been an example of a team that first crack at it, they got it?
So to me, this is the most fascinating story in the NBA right now. It's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it. I watch a lot. You do too. If I'm honest with myself, and I try to be, the team that when I watch them play, I go, that's the best team in the league, is the Spurs. Wembanyama is an absolute force of nature with his length, the way that he plays, the selflessness that he plays with, the fire that he plays with, the competitive nature that he has. It makes it where everybody else on that team has to play the same way. And I think it's one of the reasons the Thunder is so good. The SGA plays with such a level of professionalism that it requires the rest of the team to follow suit. But to me, the Spurs are the best team in the league. Now, everything in the history of the league, including Michael Jordan, says, yeah, it doesn't work like that. Your first crack at it, you've got to suffer heartache before you get to be champs. The Thunder had to lose that series to Dallas 2 seasons ago before they could win last year. The Bulls had to lose to the Pistons before they could be the Bulls. The Pistons had to lose to the Celtics before they could be the Celtics. That's sort of the way the league has worked. But I watch San Antonio, and I think that's the best team in the league. It's one of the reasons I really want to watch them tonight against a Boston team that has Jason Tatum back. Boston has looked really good lately. Jaylen Brown's had a MVP caliber season. I think they're one of the best coach teams in the league. They're Derek White might be the most underrated player in the league. I'm really interested to watch Boston and the Spurs play one another, sort of knowing that, hey, there's a chance this is a finals preview. I want to see how San Antonio responds to that, because with the exception of the day that they got blown out by the Knicks on a Sunday afternoon, here lately, whenever the Spurs get a test, they pass it with flying colors.
Yeah. History suggests that, because like I was like, well, it went pretty quickly for the Spurs with Duncan, and obviously they had Robinson there, but you go and you look, they went to the second round in the year before, so it's not like it happened fast. I do always leave room for we've never seen this before with Wembanyama, but I do think you're probably better off saying they're probably not going to win it their first year. The other team that I flip-flop on quite frequently is, I don't know how you feel about the Timberwolves. there are nights where you see the Timberwolves and you go, man, that's a pretty good test because of their construction. Like now, if they get into foul trouble, they're not super deep, and that was definitely a story of last year's playoffs. The teams that were not deep, they eventually were bounced. But Gobert can still control the middle.
Yep.
Ant is Ant is played really freaking well this year. Uh, McDaniels has been pretty good. I feel like they short up their backcourt decently. Randall's one of these guys where I don't know what to like think of him because like when he was with the Knicks and he was making like all NBA teams, I'd kind of roll my eyes and be like, what not? But man, the more I've watched in the last 2 years, like his game's actually interesting. It's not like he's not scared of contact. He is still capable of shooting the three. Like I don't know, but I don't know what to do with him because there's other nights where you see him and like they're just checked out, and you're like I don't know if you just flip a switch. But then when I go to the East, man, I don't know because like I'm not panicking because Detroit's lost four in a row, but like I do wonder, like, do you just like are you just the
I
team?
don't
And
think they have enough. I think they're a piece short. They're good. They've done a great job. Cade has had a phenomenal season. Jalen Duren is emerging as a future star in the league, but I don't know that they have enough support cast around those guys. Like to your point about depth, I don't. And they don't have the experience. I don't like them in a 7-game series against Boston. I don't like them in a 7-game series against the Knicks. I don't know what I think about Cleveland. I'm not. I'm not wowed by Cleveland. They're fine. I think the East is those teams, though. I think that's about as far as it goes. And with you about Minnesota, I'm with you about Minnesota. Um, I thought they improved themselves at the deadline. They play faster now, which can be a problem for other teams because they're so athletic. I thought last season with Conley, sometimes when it really mattered, they got bogged down with pace.
yep,
Um, there's a reason that teams made the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. There's something there. The To me with the Thunder, it comes down to is Jalen Williams going to be healthy? Because if he's healthy, if that team is healthy, they were healthy in the playoffs last season. If that team is healthy, they are the deepest team in the league, and it's not close. You saw it last night. AJ Mitchell comes back from injury. He'd been out 6 weeks, goes for 25 points. Jalen Williams, the Arkansas Jalen Williams, is the only big for the Thunder last night. Didn't have Hartenstein, didn't have Holmgren. He was for 29 points and like 13 boards, Jeffrey, guarding Jokic. Didn't get into foul trouble. Gave Jokic fits. That's what they do. It's organizational for them. They went out and they made the deal for McCain, who I think got 13 last night. That's just what they do. They are a deep roster. They can come at you in a myriad of ways. It's the series that I think we're destined for, which is Spurs Thunder, and it will be fascinating because I actually think the Spurs are a better team. The Thunder have that experience, though. They have a Western Conference semifinals, and now they went to the NBA Finals in a season where they played, 4, 11, 6, 23 playoff games. That is a lot of experience.
yeah. I also leave room for like I still think Jokic is the best player in the game, but they strike me more as a team that can maybe upset someone. But it's like, do I really think they're winning 14 or four playoff series? Man, that's kind of tough for me to get there with depth and like everything. I do think now that Tatum's come back and I mean seemingly looks
He looks great.
not really didn't really look I didn't sit there and go that guy's coming off an Achilles. Like he had some rust I felt like on Friday night, but I didn't feel like oh man that guy's in trouble. So it's like oh boy, good luck to the East. It felt like everybody like went all in to try and take advantage of injuries, significant injuries in the East, and it looks like they're going to be completely fine. I don't know. I don't know. I just wonder as we get to like April, is this a 3-team race?
Meaning San Antonio,
Well,
Oklahoma, Boston. If you offered me those three or the field, I would take those three.
yeah, and like last year, I'm trying to remember. Like last year, who was the two in the West?
Who was the two in the West? I don't even remember. The West was such a disaster last year because the Thunder ran away with it so the way that they did. It wasn't even competitive.
So it's the Rockets, the Lakers were the 3, the Nuggets were the 4, the Clippers were the 5, Timberwolves were the 6. Uh,
Golden State ended up being the 7 because they beat Houston. Is that right?
correct.
And then Memphis was the 8.
I'm trying to remember. I thought there were 3 teams, but maybe last year it's like I remember getting to a point about this time last year where I was like, if anyone other than the Thunder or the Celtics won the title, I'd be surprised. It feels like this year it's like I'm adding in the Spurs.
Oh, I'm definitely adding in the Spurs. The people that are writing the Spurs off on the inexperienced thing, I get it, but I think you're wrong. Not saying they'll win, because look, it's different. You know this. I mean, a 7-game series that goes 7 games. Those last couple of games, everybody knows everything, and it's about you throw everything you've got at in terms of lineups and matchups and coverages. You throw so many different things at the opposing team, and experience really matters. I thought for the Thunder a year ago, having Alex Caruso with all of his playoff experience, having Isaiah Hartenstein, who just the year before had been to the Eastern Conference Finals with the Knicks, I thought that was invaluable for them.
Experience matters, but it also comes down to a lot of times it's like one-on-ones. Like, you think about Giannis's march to the title. Like in the end, he just decided, I don't care what's gonna happen. Like I'm going to take over, and there's nothing you can do about it. You might beat us twice in a 7-game series, but you're not going to get me 4 times. And like I do leave room for, is Wembanyama just like, is this his time? And then the other aspect of this, we always think of like when you put these young cores together, like, oh, like we kind of use old brain where it's like they're going to be together for a decade. Well, like now what we've seen is, man, these windows close really fast. And you can be, I mean, look at the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were thinking about in 2022 that they would have Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane, John Morant for a decade. And by 2026, 2 of them have been traded, and the third would have been traded if he could have been traded.
Yeah, I'm still shocked that they didn't get something done with Morant, and I'm fascinated to see what they do in the offseason as it pertains to him. To me, is it even possible that they build the second iteration of this with him, or do they find a way to move him?
I think if they don't find a way to move him, they're going to figure out a wave and stretch. I think they have. I think.
What is he owed?
4 years, 80. I'm sorry, 2 years, 82. I think maybe 83.
I mean, it's doable, but my God,
And they did it with Dame.
They did.
I mean, I think. I just don't know how the market has changed this summer. I mean, I suppose you have a few more teams with more roster control, and so maybe you can move the pieces around a little bit. I also think this is. I think somebody should take a flyer on him. I think the guy still has a second act.
He's got to go to an organization that is disciplined and that has proven that, hey, no one comes here and is bigger than the organization.
I think so, but I think
got to go to one of those places. Otherwise, otherwise this is going to be a repeat performance.
No, I agree with you on that. I guess my point is, I'm operating under the assumption if you take the flyer on him, like I'm not building the thing around John Morant. I'm not saying like a team should do that, but I do think there are plenty of teams that if he's your second or third option, I think he can be very good.
Is he cool
As
with
long
that?
as the whole thing.
Because for the longest time he's been the franchise guy and was treated like one.
Yeah, I think that's more of a Memphis problem than it was a job problem. I think that's where I would say they were involved.
Interesting. Hey, I kept you really long. I appreciate the time so very much. Great stuff as always. A lot of fun to talk to you. Appreciate it.
All right, my man, be good.
That's Jeffrey Wright. That does it for this edition of Blue Sky Live. Not really sure what the schedule is for the rest of the day, rest of the week, I should say. I'm heading to Nashville in a bit. Ole Miss practices around 5:50 at Bridgestone Arena. I'll have something from there. I'll have a mailbag to you tomorrow. I'll have coverage of Ole Miss and Texas tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at Bridgestone. If Ole Miss wins, they play Thursday at 6 against Georgia. If they lose, obviously the season comes to a close. Ole Miss and Texas this weekend in baseball starting on Friday in Austin. The Rebels and Southern Miss tonight in Hattiesburg. We'll get all that covered for you at Rebels 24/7, and we'll figure out what our schedule is for the rest of the week based on some of the things that happen in Nashville, and we'll get more shows to you. Again, thanks to Jeffrey Wright. Thanks to everyone in the stream. Really appreciate you. We'll talk to you again soon.